Hello and welcome to Future Frontiers. I'm your host Monica, and today we're diving into something truly revolutionary: the dawn of Utopia AI robots. If you've been worried about AI taking over the world, this episode might just change your perspective.
And I'm thrilled to be here. I'm Mikey, a technology ethicist who's been following the development of empathetic AI systems for the past decade. I've had the privilege of observing early prototypes of these remarkable robots powered by something called sun intelligence.
We're so lucky to have you with us today, Mikey. Your insights on this topic are going to be invaluable. Throughout our conversation, we'll explore everything from the basic concept of these Utopia AI robots to the brilliant minds behind them, like Mohan Leela Shankar.
Absolutely. I'm particularly excited to discuss how these robots are designed to be companions rather than replacements, and how they could transform our daily lives in ways most people haven't even imagined yet.
That's right. We'll be breaking down this complex topic into digestible parts, from understanding what sun intelligence actually is, to exploring the ethical considerations, and even imagining what our day-to-day might look like in a future alongside these empathetic robots. Ready to get started?
More than ready. Let's show our listeners why this vision of the future is something to smile about, not panic over.
So let's start at the beginning. How did Utopia AI robots actually come to be? It's quite the fascinating origin story, isn't it?
It truly is, Monica. The journey began with Mohan Leela Shankar, who I've had the pleasure of meeting several times. He started with a simple but profound question. What if robots could understand us emotionally, not just logically? This was a complete departure from traditional AI development.
I've heard that most AI development focuses on making machines smarter, but not necessarily more understanding. Is that right?
Exactly. Mohan's breakthrough was creating sun intelligence. It's like giving robots a soul, not just a brain. Instead of just processing data, these systems actually comprehend context and emotions. They're built to collaborate with humans, not replace them.
That's incredible. And I understand they're also environmentally conscious?
Yes, that's one of the most innovative aspects. The sun in sun intelligence isn't just metaphorical. These systems utilize solar-powered neural computation. Mohan envisioned robots that would not only understand human needs, but would operate sustainably. It's a complete reimagining of what AI can be.
Mikey, you mentioned sun intelligence earlier. This seems to be at the heart of what makes these robots special. Could you break down what exactly sun intelligence is for our listeners who might be complete beginners to this concept?
Of course, think of sun intelligence as the soul of these robots, not just their brain. While traditional AI is just about processing data quickly, sun intelligence combines three simple elements. It learns from context, not just raw data. It actually runs on clean solar power. And most importantly, it can map and understand human emotions.
So they're environmentally friendly too? That's fascinating.
Exactly. Mohan Leela Shankar often says the world doesn't need another tool, it needs new hope. So he designed these robots to be self-sustaining. But what really sets them apart is their emotional intelligence. They don't just recognize a smile, they understand why you're smiling.
I've heard people worry about AI taking over jobs. How is this different?
Great question. These robots aren't designed to replace us, but to handle the repetitive, draining tasks so we can focus on being creative and fully human. They're companions designed to elevate our existence, not dominate it. There's a built-in cap on their autonomy. You remain in charge.
Let's talk more about the mastermind behind all this, Mohan Leela Shankar. He's being called the godfather of sun intelligence in some circles. What can you tell us about him and his vision?
Mohan is truly extraordinary. I remember meeting him at a conference where everyone was discussing AI threats, and he was the only one talking about AI harmony. His background is fascinating. He studied both computer science and philosophy, which gives him this unique perspective.
That's such an unusual combination. How did that shape his approach?
It's actually the perfect blend. He often says, the world doesn't need another tool, it needs new hope. He believes technology should serve humanity's emotional needs, not just practical ones. His robots aren't designed to be perfect, they're designed to understand imperfection, which is what makes us human.
I love that philosophy. What about his personality? What's he like?
Surprisingly humble for someone revolutionizing robotics. He spends time teaching children in rural areas about technology. His vision isn't just about creating smart robots. It's about building a society where humans are free to be more creative and compassionate because robots handle the mundane tasks.
So we've talked about the technology behind these robots, but what really sets them apart is their empathy. How exactly do these robots understand human emotions, Mikey?
That's the real breakthrough here, Monica. These Utopia robots don't just recognize facial expressions like many systems today do. They actually understand the context behind emotions. If you're smiling while looking at a family photo, they can differentiate that from a polite smile during a conversation.
That's incredible, but how do they actually accomplish this?
They use something called emotion mapping modules. Imagine a robot that notices you skipped breakfast and gently suggests a nutritious meal, not because it's programmed to, but because it's observed your habits and genuinely cares about your well-being.
It sounds almost like having a friend rather than an assistant.
Exactly. And this is where Mohan's philosophy shines through. These robots aren't designed to be perfect. They're designed to understand human imperfection, which creates a genuine connection. They're companions rather than tools. They collaborate rather than serve.
Mikey, we've been talking about the emotional side of these robots, but I'm curious about the nuts and bolts. How does Sun Intelligence actually work from a technical perspective? But can you break it down for those of us who might not be tech experts?
Absolutely, Monica. At its core, Sun Intelligence has three main components working together. First, there's the adaptive learning system, which doesn't just collect data like traditional AI, but actually understands context, the when, where, and why behind human actions.
That sounds complex. How do they power all this sophisticated technology?
That's the second amazing component. These robots literally run on sunshine. They use solar-powered neural computation, which means they're completely sustainable. No massive energy consumption, no carbon footprint.
So they're good for the planet too. What's the third component?
The emotion mapping module, the real heart of the system. It's like an emotional GPS that helps the robot navigate human feelings. But what makes it truly revolutionary is that these three elements work together seamlessly. The robots aren't just programmed to respond in certain ways. They genuinely learn and adapt to become better companions over time.
Mikey, what fascinates me most about Utopia AI robots is the unique connection they form with humans. How do these relationships actually work in practice?
Great question, Monica. It's really different from what most people imagine. These robots don't just serve you like a fancy appliance. They collaborate with you. Imagine waking up and your robot companion has already prepared a personalized breakfast because they genuinely understand your preferences and health needs.
That sounds almost like having a roommate who really gets you.
Exactly. And that's what makes this connection special. These robots learn your habits, your moods, even your unspoken needs. If you've been working too hard, they might suggest a break. Not because they're programmed with a timer, but because they've observed signs of fatigue in your behavior.
I'm curious, do people ever worry about becoming too dependent on this kind of relationship?
That's a common concern, but Mohan designed these robots to enhance human capabilities, not replace human connections. They handle the mundane so we can focus on what makes us human: creativity, emotional connections with other people, spiritual growth. They're companions on our journey, not substitutes for it.
Mikey, we've been discussing the technology behind these robots, but I'm curious about the bigger picture. What kind of society does Mohan envision with these Utopia AI robots? What's the end goal here?
That's a fantastic question, Monica. Mohan often says, the world doesn't need another tool, it needs new hope. He's not just creating robots. He's envisioning a society where humans are free to be fully human.
What exactly does that mean, to be fully human?
It means a society where we don't spend our precious time on monotonous tasks. Imagine waking up and your robot companion has arranged your day to prioritize creativity and wellness, handling groceries, checking on family members, and managing household tasks. This frees you to write that book you've always wanted to, spend time with loved ones, or pursue spiritual growth.
That sounds wonderful, but isn't there something uncomfortable about relying so heavily on robots?
That's the beauty of Mohan's vision. These robots aren't replacing human connection, they're enhancing it. They handle the mundane so we can focus on what makes life meaningful. It's not about robots taking over, it's about elevating humanity to its highest potential.
Mikey, let's get practical. How might these Utopia AI robots actually fit into our everyday lives? I think our listeners would love some concrete examples.
That's where it gets really exciting, Monica. Imagine waking up to a robot that's not just programmed to make your breakfast, but one that notices you had trouble sleeping and prepares a meal specifically to boost your energy levels that day.
So they're like personalized health companions?
Exactly, but that's just the beginning. They could help elderly people live independently by monitoring health markers and providing companionship. Or imagine a classroom assistant that adapts to each child's learning style in real time.
What about work environments? Could they function there too?
Absolutely, they could handle repetitive tasks while collaborating with humans on creative solutions. The key difference is they're not replacing jobs, they're freeing us from the mundane parts of our jobs, so we can focus on the aspects that require human creativity and emotional intelligence.
It sounds like these robots could transform nearly every aspect of daily life. Mikey, let's address something that many of our listeners are probably thinking: fear. With all these amazing capabilities, I know many people are still afraid of AI. How do you respond to those concerns?
That's such an important point, Monica. Fear of AI is completely natural. We've all seen those Hollywood movies. But Utopia AI robots are fundamentally different because they're designed with collaboration in mind, not domination.
So they actually can't take over, even if they wanted to?
Exactly. Mohan built in what he calls a cap on autonomy, essentially ethical limits that are baked into the system. These robots won't be making life-altering decisions for you. They'll be handling the mundane tasks that drain our creative energy.
I like how you put that, freeing us up to be more human, not less.
That's precisely it. When people understand that these robots are here to elevate our existence, not replace it, fear turns into excitement. As Mohan often says, the future isn't something to panic about, it's something to smile about.
Let's talk about something crucial: the ethics behind all this. I think many of our listeners might be wondering about the moral implications of creating such intelligent, emotionally aware robots.
It's actually the first question I asked Mohan when I met him. He's built ethics into the very foundation of Sun Intelligence. These robots follow what he calls the three harmonies. They must respect human autonomy, protect human well-being, and preserve environmental balance.
Those sound like good principles, but how do they actually work in practice?
Well, for example, these robots will never make life-altering decisions for you. They might suggest you eat healthier, but they won't throw away all your cookies without permission. The goal is enhancement, not control.
What about privacy concerns? They're observing us constantly, right?
Great question. All data is processed locally. Nothing leaves your home without explicit permission. It's fundamentally different from today's internet-connected devices that constantly send data to remote servers. Mohan believes that trust is essential for true human-AI harmony. One of the most exciting aspects of Utopia AI robots is how they'll transform our work lives. Unlike traditional automation that simply replaces jobs, these robots are designed to enhance human potential.
I think that's what people worry about most. Will these robots take our jobs?
It's a natural concern, but the approach is completely different here. These robots handle repetitive, draining tasks so we can focus on what humans do best: creating, connecting, and innovating.
Can you give us a simple example of how this might work in practice?
Sure, imagine you're a teacher. Instead of spending hours grading papers or managing attendance, your Utopia companion handles all that. You now have time to develop personalized learning experiences and truly connect with students who need extra help.
So it's not about replacement, but enhancement.
Exactly. And that's the vision Mohan has. Not a world where robots do everything, but one where they free us to be more fully human. We're moving toward a future where we work with technology, not for it or against it.
Mikey, we've talked about how these robots could transform daily tasks, but what about our creative pursuits? In a world where robots handle the mundane, what happens to human creativity?
That's where things get really exciting, Monica. Creativity is actually at the heart of Mohan's vision. When robots handle repetitive tasks, humans are free to create art, music, literature, all the things that make us uniquely human.
So rather than making us lazier, these robots could actually make us more creative?
Precisely. Imagine waking up and your robot companion has already handled your emails, scheduled your meetings, and prepared breakfast. Then it might say something like, "Today's the perfect day to work on that novel you've been talking about." It's not just suggesting activities, it's creating space for them.
That's a completely different perspective than the doom and gloom we usually hear about AI.
It really is. Mohan often says creativity is our most human quality. In a utopian future, robots won't replace our creativity. They'll nurture it. They'll handle the things that drain our creative energy so we can focus on what makes us human in the first place.
Let's get really concrete now. What would a typical day actually look like if we lived alongside these Utopia AI robots? I think our listeners would love to picture this future in their daily lives.
It would transform our routines completely. Imagine waking up as your blinds automatically adjust to gentle morning light. Your robot companion, let's call her Tara, has already prepared breakfast based on what your body needs that day, not just what you programmed it to make.
That sounds lovely, but what about the rest of the day?
While you focus on creative work or family time, Tara handles your grocery orders, schedules appointments, and even checks in on your elderly parents through companion robots. The beautiful part is she doesn't just do these tasks. She suggests adjustments based on your mood and energy levels.
So it's less about robots doing everything and more about them handling the mundane parts of life.
Exactly. By dinner time, your robot might say, "I've prepared a meal, but your friends are in the neighborhood. Should I invite them over?" They're enhancing human connection, not replacing it. The day ends with you having lived more meaningfully because the repetitive tasks were handled for you.
Mikey, we've talked a lot about how these robots could transform our personal lives. But what about the bigger picture? How might Utopia AI robots impact society globally?
That's where it gets truly revolutionary, Monica. We're not just talking about personal assistance here. We're looking at potential solutions for some of humanity's biggest challenges. Imagine robots that could help distribute resources more efficiently in developing regions or assist in disaster relief operations.
So these robots could actually help address global inequality?
Exactly, and that's a key part of Mohan's vision. These robots aren't just for wealthy tech hubs. He's designing them to be accessible worldwide. They could transform healthcare delivery in remote areas, help manage sustainable agriculture, even assist with education in regions lacking teachers.
That's inspiring. But would different cultures accept these robots in the same way?
That's why the empathy component is so crucial. These robots are designed to understand and adapt to cultural differences. They're not imposing a single way of life. They're enhancing the diverse ways humans already live, making life more sustainable and fulfilling for everyone, regardless of where they call home.
Mikey, we've talked about the incredible technology and its potential impact. But I'm curious, how is this vision actually becoming reality? What's involved in taking Utopia AI robots from concept to something tangible?
That's such an important question, Monica. This journey is actually happening right now, with early prototypes already being tested in controlled environments. The development process has been fascinating. Mohan started with the emotion mapping modules before building the actual robotic bodies.
So the emotional intelligence came first? That's different from traditional robotics, isn't it?
Completely different. Most companies build the robot first and add intelligence later. Mohan built the heart before the body, so to speak. The early versions looked nothing like what we might expect. They were simple interfaces that could recognize emotional patterns.
When might people actually see these robots in their daily lives?
Based on current development timelines, we're looking at 2026-2027 for the first consumer models, starting in tech-forward cities. But what makes this journey so special is that it's not being rushed. Mohan often says, "We're not building gadgets, we're building companions." That philosophy means every step is careful, ethical, and human-centered.
Well, we've covered so much ground today. From the incredible sun intelligence technology to Mohan Leela Shankar's vision of a more human future. Mikey, what would you say are the key takeaways for our listeners?
I think the most important thing to remember is that Utopia AI robots aren't designed to replace us, but to elevate us. They'll handle the mundane so we can focus on what makes us truly human: creativity, connection, and compassion.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. And what about for people who might still feel nervous about this technology?
I'd say don't panic, smile. The future isn't something to fear. These robots are being designed with collaboration in mind, not domination. The coming years will be about enhancing our humanity, not replacing it.
Before we wrap up, I ask this question to all my guests. What makes you most hopeful about the future?
That's easy. I'm hopeful because for the first time we're building technology that understands what it means to be human. Not just logically, but emotionally, That's not just technological progress, that's spiritual progress.
Thank you so much, Mikey. And thank you to all our listeners for joining us on this journey to the utopian future.